and you are good to go.
Good evening. My name is Tim Spencer. I'm City Attorney for the City of Roanoke, Virginia. And let us call this meeting of the City of Roanoke Equity and Empowerment Advisory Board to order. If I could have a roll call, please.
And I just realized I don't have a list of everybody, so probably the easiest is going to be to actually just have folks go through and announce themselves, I think.
If we could do that. I'm Tim Spencer, and if we could then start with you, Bob.
Sure, I'm Bob Collin, the city manager. Angie, I think you're next on my screen. I'll just go through that way. So,
Hi, good evening, Angela Penn.
thank you. And Angela is a board member. And then Elda.
Hi, I'm Elda Stanko Downey, local business owner.
Thank you. And Trish.
Trish White Boyd, member Roanoke City Council.
Thank you. And Bill.
Bill Lee, retired minister.
City Council.
That's right. I got to remember there's
Two bills.
we got Bill Lee. You want to go ahead again, Billy?
Yes, Bill Lee, retired minister.
Thank you. Bill Bestfitch.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Tim, you've introduced yourself. Peter.
Yeah, Peter Watson, retired citizen.
Thank you. And Patisse.
Hi, Patisse Holland, attorney. Wish I was
Thank you.
retired.
Thank you. And Rabbi Cohen.
Kathy Cohen, Rabbi at Temple Emmanuel.
Thank you. And Jerrell.
Jerrell Rhodes, educator, also just mentor.
Thank you. And then Angie O'Brien.
Angie O'Brien, assistant to the city manager.
Thank you. And Tim, it appears all members are present.
Wonderful. If we have first on our agenda is the election of officers. And we're going to start with the election of a chair. I will open the floor to nominations for a chair.
Mr. Spencer, I nominate Vice Mayor Trish White Boyd to chair.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I'm going to leave this to a voice vote. All those in favor of electing Trish White Boyd as chair of the City of Roanoke Equity and Empowerment Advisory Board, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, congratulations, Vice Mayor, now chair of the City of Roanoke Equity and Empowerment Advisory Board.
Thank you so much. What an honor.
I am going to open the floor for nominations for vice chair. Please don't jump in all at once.
I'll nominate myself.
Rabbi Cohen, are there any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, I will close the nominations. All those in favor of appointing Rabbi Cohen as vice chair of the City of Roanoke Equity and Empowerment Advisory Board signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, congratulations, Rabbi Cohen. You are now the vice chair. Now for the office that everyone hopes to seek. I'm opening the floor up for nominations of secretary.
Mr. Spencer, I'd like to nominate Bill Bestfitch to be secretary.
We have a nomination of Bill Bestfitch. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I close the nominations. All those in favor of appointing Bill Bestfitch as secretary of the Equity and Empowerment Advisory Board, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, congratulations, Mr. Bestfitch. You are now Secretary of the Equity and Empowerment Advisory Board. And Madam Chair, I turn the gavel symbolically over to
Tim, it
you.
appears you threw it literally.
Well, I hope I didn't hit you.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. And thank you so much for the opportunity to serve as chair of the Equity, Empowerment, and Advisory Board. From here on out, we will call the EEAB. And if you guys can, I need to take this call. If you guys can just go around and do an introduction. I'm trying to get somebody off the street broken down maybe. But if you could just go around and introduce yourself, I'll come back in and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I think the purpose of this one is, I know everybody's kind of introduced themselves for a role. And so as Trish mentioned, the purpose of this is maybe to give a little bit more of an explanation as to your interest in serving on the board, what kind of attracted you to the board. So if we can do that, I'll go ahead and call off folks. So if we'll start with Elda.
Thank you, Bob. Always happy to be the inaugural voice. Hello, everyone. I am Elda Stanko-Downey. I have been in the Roanoke region since 2004 and in the city of Roanoke as a resident since 2007. I am by profession a professor. I teach at the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine in the medical Spanish program. And I'm also a business owner in a small business called Roanoke Spanish. As you might tell from my background, I am Hispanic, Latina, Latinx, and I've worked with the community in opening opportunities for college education for Latinos and empowering Latinos in the Roanoke area and the region. And that is my scoop. And very happy to be on board and very happy to be able to work with all you fine folks on this advisory board, the EEAB.
Yes. Okay, Bob, I'm back now. I'm sorry. I had somebody having car trouble and I just wanted to make sure they had gotten straightened out. So we're good now and I can go ahead and call for the introductions. Did you want to, I will go based on my screen. I have Elda. Do you want to say anything else, Bob, or can I go on with the introductions?
Nope, you just go ahead and proceed.
Okay. Mr. Bestfitch, would you like to do a brief introduction and let us know of what your interests are in this EEAB?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I've completed about 14 and a half years actually now on Roanoke City Council, and have lived in Roanoke for the past 30 years. Almost a year and a half ago now, Councilmember Joe Cobb, who was Vice Mayor at the time, and Mr. Cal and I began meeting with a group that we called the elders of the Gainsborough Henry Street area who had experienced the after effects of urban renewal. They referred to themselves as the urban renewal survivors. And we wanted to address the mistakes that the city of Henry Street area, in the Commonwealth and Kimball neighborhoods, and with the old Lick Cemetery, where some 900 bodies were disinterred and reburied out of Corner Springs in order to accommodate 581. The group had so much pain, that we were never really able to get into any of those issues in any depth whatsoever. So I am very pleased to have the opportunity to work with the rest of you to find ways that we can address the issues that's only related to urban renewal, of course, but all of the issues that relate to institutional and systemic racism within our community that we need to remove.
Thank you, Mr. Bestfitch, and also thank you for serving as our secretary. Mr. Bestfitch is retired, and I might have enough time to do it. I don't think anybody will object to that, and I'm so glad he kind of volunteered for that. So thank you, Mr. Bestfitch, for doing that. Now we will have Jerrell Rhodes. Mr. Rhodes, you want to introduce yourself to
Yes,
our
thank
board?
you, Vice Mayor White Boy.
Thank you.
And thank you all for just inviting me to the board. I'm I really appreciate the opportunity. My name is Jerrell Rhodes, and I am a native Roanoker. I am an educator. I've been in education for 23 years. I'm a guidance coordinator currently at Forest Park Academy. I'm also the founder of Rebounding Roanoke, which is the umbrella for the Renaissance Academy, the L Academy, and City Up, as well as Blue Chip Elite Athlete Training and Academics. So I'm a mentor at heart, grew up in Roanoke. So, you know, the fact that this board was established, you know, wherever I feel like I can put my hands in to help, I want to be there. I do have a vision that I would like to see come forth, and it's to make the city be better. So the opportunity I truly appreciate, and I want to be instrumental in however I can be.
Thank you so much. Thank you for accepting our invitation. We look forward to working with you. Reverend Lee?
Yes, my name is, well, everyone knows me as Bill Lee. My name is William Lee. I'm retired pastor of Loudon Avenue as of October 23rd this year, 4 years. I've been retired and have moved myself in the background of a lot of things just to ease up my life. I've been in Roanoke since 1974. This is my wife's home. Came here as a public school teacher back in 1974. Taught at Stonewall Jackson Junior High School in those days. It's now John Fishwick. My saying yes to this committee, I don't think you can right all historic wrongs. I think in the case of games where we can't right it, but I think we can do a lot to help do some healing and moving forward. The word that I hear when it was in the midst of a lot of things was not urban renewal. Person referred to themselves as urban removal. And so that pain is there. So whatever I can bring to the table to help do some healing, but most importantly, make sure we don't repeat history is far more important to me than trying to go back and fix something that I don't think we can. Thank
you, Bill Lee, and for accepting our invitation. And I am certainly looking forward to working with you. And I think we have, okay, Tim, you're next. I'll go on to Angela Penn.
Good evening, Vice Mayor White Boyd. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm glad to be here with everyone. I work for Total Action for Progress in real estate, providing affordable housing for families not only in Roanoke, but in the 5th Planning District. I am a former member of the Roanoke City Planning Commission, where I served for 12 years on the Planning Commission. I had the opportunity to work on the Interwoven Equity Steering Committee as part of the comprehensive plan. So I got the opportunity to engage with citizens as we went through the planning process. And I am so happy to see the Equity and Empowerment Advisory Board come to fruition. This was an idea that stemmed from one of those community meetings where citizens had asked about if there would be such a board that could be formed. So I'm so excited that we are all here this evening. So I'm looking forward to serving with each of you, and I'm excited about this opportunity.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation, Angela, and we are certainly looking forward to working with you and finding out more about the equity and the interwoven equity that you all had worked on previously. And I know you'll share some of that with us later, but thank you for doing that as well. Mr. Wanson.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I am Peter Wanson. I'm a native of Minnesota. I've lived in Roanoke since 1981. I earned both a bachelor's degree and a master's degree from Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. I'm retired from a 38-year career as an educator and a 14-year career as a rock and roll singer, which bookended my years in education. In Roanoke, I worked for 11 years as a principal and assistant principal at Patrick Henry High School and James Madison Middle School. And I was also the assistant headmaster at North Cross School for 9 years. I retired, hard to believe, I retired 11 years ago Since then, I have focused on musical endeavors with a bunch of other geezers and also volunteerism. I'm the founder of 2 service-oriented projects for my college class. Locally, I cared for Roanoke Valley Reads for 7 years. I'm a life member of the NAACP, and I've been a member and an officer of the Roanoke branch since 2005. And I'm on the steering committee of One Valley, which is a Roanoke civil rights and environmental nonprofit. Since I retired, I've thought off and on about how can I serve the city by working officially, if you will, in the city. When I heard about this committee, I thought this is really in my wheelhouse. This is really something that I'm passionate about, and I'm very appreciative that I was appointed. Thanks.
Thank you. And we look forward to working with you. We certainly appreciate you taking our invitation to join the committee. And I certainly look forward to working with you as well as the others, I'm sure. And Ms. Patisse Holland?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a pleasure to serve with all of you. Some of your resumes, most of your resumes, so it's just a pleasure to be a part of the board. I am Patisse Holland. I'm an attorney. I'm originally from Franklin County. I moved away for college and law school and then returned back and moved to Roanoke in 2007. So it's been approximately almost 14 years. So I've been in the city working at Woods Rogers. I'm a partner there. I'm the first Black female partner at the firm, happy to say and happy to hold that title. And I currently chair our firm's diversity and equity task force. I am an adjunct professor at Washington and Lee, where I teach civil rights law when I find time, and very active in different organizations and groups in the city and also in the nation, actually, with our other board member, Bill Lee. So we've been getting around. But I'm very happy. This is something that has always been very special to me, which is the issue of diversity and particularly equity. I do a lot of trainings. I'm particularly focusing on labor and employment at Woods Rogers. I do a lot of trainings on the management side for employers, particularly local employers, on the issues of Title VII. Most recent, in the past couple of years, I spoke at Senator Warner's leadership conference, and started speaking on the issues of implicit bias and diversity. So that is kind of where I started working in that area, and I've been doing so across the state for the past 2 years, and recently have been doing a lot of trainings, of course, in the wake of our racial pandemic that we've been experiencing, in addition to this health pandemic and economic pandemic. I've been asked to speak to different community groups, school boards, and so I've been very happy to do that and hope that those conversations can continue in that training in that area. So I'm very happy to be here, and thank you so much for the invitation.
And we are very happy that you are here as well. And thank you so much for accepting our invitation. I'm really looking forward to working with you. And last, we have Rabbi Cohen. If you want to introduce yourself, Rabbi Cohen.
Sure. This is Nala, who
Hi, Nola.
likes to be on camera. I am Kathy Cohen. I have been the rabbi at Temple Emmanuel in the city for the past 25 years. I am a past president of the Board of Family Promise, which works for housing for newly homeless families. I am on the Roanoke City Gun Violence Task Force or Committee. I'm not quite sure what we're calling it these days. And that has been a wonderful experience and a tremendous source of education. But really, I think that what drove me to very much want to be a part of this group is that, Roanoke is known as one of the most segregated cities in the country. And I think that that is to our tremendous detriment. And I think that in order to make our city stronger and better, the first thing that we need to do is to work on our integration, to work on our working with one another, on bringing people of all different kinds together. And I'm so thrilled that this is happening. It's something that I think for the past 20 years has been in the back of my mind that this needed to happen. When I saw it, I just couldn't be more excited that the city was actively moving in this direction. And I've had the opportunity to work with Reverend Lee several times, and Bill, I'm so glad to see you here again. Thank you all for allowing me to work with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for accepting our invitation. And from this point forward, we're going to be working together a lot, working closely together. You can call me Trish if you would like to be called something other than by your first name. We don't have to say Mr. and last names. If we could just be a little less formal, if you object to that, that's fine. I am happy to call you however you wish. I just want you to know that you can be comfortable enough to call me Trish. And I, in another life, own a home health agency, and that's what I do for, full-time. And since I've been on city council, I have advocated for equality and equity. And, you know, I was really, really happy that the mayor recommended me, even though I had to be appointed, recommended me for this board, because we had the entire city council wanting to be a part of this board. And as you know, we had so many applications, and I'm so glad that we had that kind of interest. And we are not just going to be talking about some of the racial inequalities. We're going to be talking about equity and also empowering people, which is one of the reasons that I'm so enthused about this board. So again, welcome everybody. Thank you all so much for your commitment and joining us, because we all, just about all of us are working. A couple of us are retired, but for the most part, we're all working. And when you take on a commitment like this is a sacrifice of your time away from your friends, your family, your loved ones. So I just want you to know, as your new chair, that I am truly grateful that you all have decided to join us. And I think for now, next on the agenda, item B, we will have our city manager go over pretty much the responsibilities of this board, so you can get a better idea of what it is that we will be asking you to do.
Thank you, and I'll be succinct in this because we have several other items, and most of you were familiar with this information as you applied for the board. But I do want to start by first thanking the mayor and the council for establishing this board. As many of you have noted, it's something that probably has long been needed, and I think it was definitely time to do it. And so I certainly want to thank them for doing that. I also want to congratulate each of you and thank you for serving on this also. This is not a task force. This is not a focus group. This is a permanent council appointed board right alongside other boards like the Planning Commission, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. And what is significant about that is this is a body which will permanently work on addressing these issues that we're talking about and are really an extension of the city council. So certainly want to congratulate you on that and working out of it or working through this. As has been mentioned previously, this effort was really born probably out of two things, I'd say, recently. One of those was the comprehensive plan effort, which just recently resulted in the adoption of the new comprehensive plan. And really, frankly, born out of the times. I mean, it was evident that the community, our local community, was really insisting on something like this. And so I think those two things are what motivated the council really to take this step and for the first time actually put this in place and move forward. Most of you know that I have referred previously to the section of the comprehensive plan as to kind of that really guiding post of what the work of this board is to do. And I just want to read just very briefly kind of the vision that is established in that plan that relates directly to equity. Roanoke will not reach its full potential as a community unless each citizen has the opportunity to reach their full potential. Equity involves the fair distribution of investments and services and the removal of institutional or structural policies that can be barriers to success. We must work to ensure equity in our policies as they relate to race, ethnicity, age, gender, gender identity, ability, sexual orientation, and any other characteristics upon which people are discriminated against, oppressed, or disadvantaged. So that's sort of the overarching charge, if you will. And then inside the bylaws that you'll be looking at briefly, and as a part of the ordinance that the council adopted, there's really three seemingly simple but pretty profound responsibilities that this board has. The first of those is to review the priorities and begin implementing on those priorities that come from the Interwoven Equity section of the City Plan 2040, as well as any subsequent city comprehensive plan. And Angela will be sharing with us a little bit later some of the details of what's in that plan. So that's one charge. The second is to develop proposed plans for the implementation of policies and actions identified for each of the priorities set forth in the interwoven equity portion of the city plan, and again, any subsequent city comprehensive plan. And then probably the most overarching, most comprehensive responsibility is to review all existing city policies, ordinances, and regulations, and recommend to City Council changes in such policies, ordinances, or regulations to eliminate the city of any policies or procedures that promote inequity or inequality or limit empowerment. Last thing I'll say is the board is intentionally named equity and empowerment. And the reason for that is it really does have that dual charge, which is trying to weed out any policies and practices we have in the city that continue to promote inequities, but also likewise trying to identify any policy changes that are necessary to further empower our residents, particularly those that are in those groups that I identified earlier. So those are your general charges, enough to keep all of us busy for the rest of our lifetimes, probably. It's exciting opportunities, great challenge, but I think that the council has done a really good job of laying out very clearly what is expected of work of this board. So with that, Trish, I'll turn it back over to you, or if anyone has any questions about those responsibilities.
Thank you, Bob, for doing that. That was very helpful. And as you can see, we are a brand new board. You guys, we're the very beginning, and there's a lot that we want to accomplish. So at some point after our first public hearing, we are going to break out into subcommittees. And I'm really glad that we had the opportunity to introduce ourselves and share a little bit about yourself, because we will take that information and try to categorize you into subcommittees so that we can dig a little bit deeper and move a little bit quicker to achieve some of the things that we want to achieve. This is going to be ongoing. When I'm gone, Bill is gone, this will still be ongoing. You guys might want to hang around, but at least we can get started. I would like to see, and I think Bill said the same thing, we'd like to see some substantial changes while we are in office, and I appreciate you guys helping us do that. So we are going to move very quickly to break up into these subcommittees so we can start doing and talk and diving into some of those things that Bob just talked about. Hopefully you all have had the opportunity to look at the bylaws, because I am going to ask for a motion to adopt them. Has everybody had a chance to look at the bylaws that came out along with the agenda?
Trish, I would move the adoption.
Second.
Yes, second.
I'll second the motion.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, who made the motion?
Are there any questions or any discussions about the bylaws? Anything you see that might need to be changed before we vote to adopt them?
Just for my notes, who made the motion?
Angela.
Bill Lee. Actually, it was Reverend
Lee.
Lee, and I
Oh,
second.
okay. Reverend. Oh, yeah. Okay. I thought you heard Reverend Lee. Okay. Are we good, Mr. Secretary?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Hearing no discussions or no comments, I will ask that everyone in favor of adopting the bylaws as written, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Aye. And the bylaws have been adopted. And also, along with the bylaws and the agenda, you should have gotten the meeting schedule. Now, this is pretty tentative, but we did have to have, Bob, did you do something?
I think Tiffany just popped up the agenda, just so everybody knew where we were on the agenda.
Oh, okay. Okay, so if you all have gotten your the schedule of the meeting dates, these are, like I said, these are not set in stone because things change. They are pretty tentative, but we want to go ahead and adopt the meeting schedule because that is a requirement of our bylaws. So I would need a motion to adopt the meeting schedule for 2021.
To add just one thing before that, just
Sure.
for clarity. So when you look at the list of the schedule, you'll note that there are 4 identified public hearing dates, and that's because by your bylaws, you're required to conduct a public hearing every quarter. And so I just wanted to note that in addition to kind of these regular meetings, there will be at least 4 meetings throughout the course of the year. There are actually formal public hearings as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for doing that. With that clarification,
I'm sorry, Trish.
I need a motion.
I did see this earlier, but I can't find it right now. Could you just review when those meetings are set for?
Yes, and it is going to be, just for the record, it is going to be the first Thursday in every month. And the dates are January 7, February 4th, a public hearing, March 4th, April 1st, a regular meeting, May 6th, regular meeting, June 3rd, a public hearing, July 1, a regular meeting, August 5th, regular meeting, September 2nd, public hearing, October 7th, a regular meeting, November 4th, a regular meeting, and our last public hearing would be December 2nd. And we put the public meetings, we spread them out kind of quarterly, just so that we could get the feedback from the community, from the residents, so that we will know what direction. In fact, I think we're going to wait to set our priorities until after the March meeting, our first public hearing, because we have some things in mind. I have some things, I'm sure all of you have some things in mind, and I hope that we will get an opportunity to address them. But we also need the input from our residents and from our community, and therefore we have scheduled these public hearings it looks like every quarter, and we will take that information and then we'll set the agenda for the next quarter, so to speak, so that we can kind of work, in tandem with the meeting schedule. Are there any other questions about the meeting schedule? Can I get a motion to adopt the meeting schedule for 2021?
I move adoption. I move adoption of the 2021 meeting schedule.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we get a second?
Seconded.
Okay, and Jerrell Rhodes. So for the record, that was Patisse and Jerrell. And the 2021 meeting schedule will be adopted. Keep in mind, with inclement weather, anything could happen. And so things could change, but according to our bylaws, we needed to do that. And we are in compliance with our bylaws. And now
Chair,
we
I think you need to
will,
call for the vote. Voice vote.
oh yeah, we didn't vote on that, did we? Thank you, Mr. Secretary. All those in favor of the 2021 meeting schedule, please, you can raise your hand or say aye. With this Zoom stuff, I just raised my hand.
Aye.
Aye. Looks like we are all in favor, and thank you, Mr. Secretary / parliamentarian. And we will go on to item E. And I think that is where we're going to have some information from the city manager and
Yeah,
board
I will
member
go ahead and
Ken.
start, and then I'll hand it off to Angela, I think, is the order. Tiffany, would you mind? Thank you. So Tiffany has shared with you on the screen, and I'm not going to go over this in detail. I will actually email this to each of the board members tomorrow after the meeting stuff. But part of what I wanted to do, just as we're going to do with Angela, is of course even though this board is new, the idea and the response to inequities is not new. I mean, obviously the city has for some time been working on trying to address these issues in a variety of different ways. And so I wanted to take just a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes to actually just hit on some of those. And again, I'll send this file to you so that you can then go into some of this in more detail at your pace as you choose. And I've broken this into two categories, those that are community oriented. So these are the things that the city as a whole is doing out in the community. And then later you'll see one that's more focused on the organization, which are things we're doing inside the government organization that are addressed or responding to issues of equity and empowerment. On the community oriented side, we've already, of course, talked some about the comprehensive plan, and I will not go into that detail because Angela's going to cover that in just a few moments. Obviously, the formation of the Equity and Empowerment Advisory Board is one of those community-oriented efforts. And again, it was derived directly out of the adopted comprehensive plan. We are also, as a result of the comprehensive plan, we have changed or in the process of changing the way we actually are developing the city's budget. The city has for a number of years budgeted using a system which we refer to as budgeting for outcomes. All that really means is that the council has defined its strategic priorities, and we align the budget in order to achieve objectives or outcomes around each of those priorities. We are now actually focusing on achieving equitable and empowering objectives and or outcomes. And so what that effectively means is we will be asking each of the directors as they propose various expenditures to be included in the budget, how it addresses a particular disparity or advances on some kind of asset or empowerment kind of opportunity. View this kind of as a 2-year sort of exercise to kind of get us up and running. It's a pretty significant change, but that will be one of those efforts that we are already underway. That budget development for FY22 actually just kicked off in the last couple of weeks. Of course, you all are familiar with the decision to remove the Lee Monument from Lee Plaza. So that certainly was one of those efforts. And one of the things that this board will be tasked with is assisting the city in actually the renaming of Lee Plaza. So that will be actually an upcoming effort that is focused on this. We currently, the city has a temporary COVID-19 Hispanic outreach coordinator. This was born directly out of the disparate impacts to our Hispanic and Spanish speaking part of our community and from COVID. And frankly, also an identified weakness that was identified by our community that said, we don't have someone that's addressing this. We now have that. And I say temporary because that position was actually originally funded through some of the CARES Act funding that we received. We have since that time actually secured an additional grant that will allow us to carry that position through till at least October as we go forward. In addition to that, of course, we have for a couple of years, we have had a Welcoming Roanoke effort underway, which is basically for an entire week. We join many other communities in the nation where we actually celebrate and recognize the diversity that is present in our community. We actually have taken that one step further in that we have aspects of that we actually celebrate all year long, and certainly do so with many community partners. Some of you may be familiar with the Human Rights Commission Equality Index. This is an index that was developed to serve as a national benchmark, measuring policies, practices, and benefits that are pertinent to the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer segments of the community. And they put out an index that kind of evaluates you against a number of priorities. And I will say that the first time that index came out related to City of Roanoke, it was pretty dismal. It was one of the lowest scores you could probably get. And through some concentrated efforts by some folks on the outside of the organization, as well as the inside of the organization, we have advanced that index number significantly. And again, I think some of the work of this board will probably help address further efforts at trying to advance on that as well. The next item is actually, we have something similar under the age-friendly community. So couple of years ago, under the leadership of Dr. Trinkle, who was on the council at the time, we actually worked with our local area agency on aging, as well as the local chapter of the AARP, and secured the age-friendly community designation for the city of Roanoke, and that has resulted in an action plan that effectively continues to work to try to make this a good place for someone to actually age in place in the community. And in the information I'll send you, there's links to a lot of these documents, including that one. In 2020, the city of Roanoke became the first city in Virginia to sign the Charter for Compassion, which actually supports the emergence of a global movement that is really focused on trying to do other things in our community just to exhibit compassion within our community and to advance that as well. And again, some additional information is available on that piece in the information that I'll send to you. Back in 2019, we reorganized our economic development department to add a new cluster focused on economic inclusion. The cluster focuses on preparing our youth and workforce for economic opportunities present in the growth sectors within our community, as well as assisting entrepreneurs and businesses really that are coming from the impoverished areas of our community access talent, resources, and opportunity. This year, the City Council opened up the Financial Empowerment Center. This center is also the first in Virginia, and it offers one-on-one professional financial counseling for residents at no cost, and is a partnership with a number of local nonprofits, Cerulean Clinic and Freedom First. And of course, this is focused really on helping helping our residents secure and retain wealth as a means in which to move out of poverty. Of course, Bill Bespich referred to the effort that was underway in Gainsborough, and though that initial effort has yet not been able to bear the fruit that we hope that it will, it did spin off another effort, which we refer to as a new way forward, which is us working with a number of, in that case, we were working with the elders. In this case, we're working with some of the younger generation in the area that are actually interested in moving forward in some business and entrepreneurial opportunities. And hopefully you'll have more, we'll have more about that over the next couple of months as well. We were also a part of the National League of Cities City of Opportunity. We were actually a pilot city in that effort. And the program is designed to enhance the opportunities that cities have in working partnerships with anchor institutions, in this case with Cerulean, who is a partner in this, to address health outcomes and disparities, affordable housing, and other types of disparities. Upon completion of that program, Roanoke actually was just invited to participate in a second initiative focused on addressing equity and health outcomes. And again, we'll be doing that in partnership with Cerulean, and also in this case, United Way is a partner as well. And this effort is entitled Cities and Health Systems, a Communities of Practice. We have actually going on right now, I think yesterday was actually the first one of these meetings, or 2 days ago, which is the Roanoke Change Academy. And the city has partnered with the Book City Roanoke over several months to bring speakers, convene study groups, and others around education about racism and its impacts and ways to foster policy responses to those impacts. The city is involved in the Urban Arts Project along with the Arts Commission. And in the first effort of that was commissioning an urban art project, which ultimately became the End Racism Now mural that is on Campbell, and was a part of that effort. But that wasn't the only effort. That group is continuing to work on additional urban art projects to try to bring that aspect of our community into addressing these inequities that may exist within the community. And then last on the community-oriented ones was the Star City Strong Recovery Fund, which many of you actually participated in that as well. The city council didn't want to just take the CARES Act funding and just spend it anyway. And so what they did is they formed a very diverse task force that actually met and talked about how best to spend those dollars in our community. But even more importantly, they did so through an equity lens as well to ensure that as we spent those dollars, they were responsive. I've already mentioned the COVID Hispanic, Spanish-speaking outreach coordinator as one of those efforts. Another example of that was that we actually opened the small business assistance portion of that to minority-owned businesses a couple of weeks in advance of all other applicants, so that they would have an opportunity, which actually was missing in the first effort that the federal government pushed out as a way to kind of help them get kind of jump started. And hopefully within the next few weeks, we'll be able to share with everyone that was on that task force the amount of significant change that has all impacted and benefited. So that is not an exhaustive list, though it is certainly a long list of those community-oriented items that are built around this issue of addressing inequity and empowerment. Inside the organization, we have a number of groups that assist us. One of those is the Diversity Advisory Council. This is a group that is employee-led. So these are our employees that actually get together. They raise awareness around race, diversity, and inclusion within the organization. And they advise me as the city manager on issues within our community, within our organization that need attention around those particular issues. A couple of times a year, they actually host an all employees conference where all of our employees are invited. One of those is actually coming up at the end of this month, where they work around those types of issues. In 2020, Tiffany Bradbury and I established what we're referring to as the Diversity and Engagement Advisory Panel. This is a group, a very diverse group of city residents that are actually come together once a month, and it's to advise us in best ways to actually engage with portions of our community that are often not engaged with as well as they should. And again, this includes our immigrant community. This includes folks that are in minority populations. We have folks on there representing the folks with limited ability. There's a large cross section of those, and some significant things have already come out of that in terms of how we're engaging with folks within the community. And then we also have a task force that was born out of that is specifically oriented on Spanish speaking COVID outreach. And so they actually assist that outreach coordinator, and they too meet on a regular basis in order to do that. We also have a fairly robust diversity training and leadership development program within the city organization. And that effort is led by our city's Human Resources Department, again, in cooperation with that Diversity Advisory Council that I just mentioned. And then, of course, we have within our recruitment and retention practices, a number of practices that we have put in place to try to actually address any risks really with any kind of discrimination as we go through that process. Two examples of that are that we use panels, interview panels, rather than individuals just interviewing, and those panels always must be diverse in their composition. We also have a minimum requirement in terms of diversity in the pool of candidates that we actually interview, and we won't proceed with those interviews until we actually have achieved that mix. And then last on this list is we have a collection of what I refer to as affinity groups within the organization. These are self-organized and self-led groups of employees that include things like young professionals, women in leadership, and a whole host of others who just get together on a regular basis and again, conduct kind of peer support and mentoring and other types of things throughout the year. So those are a few of the things inside the organization that we have to try to address these. And I really just wanted to share that information with you. And again, I'll send it out to you all so you can look at it in more detail as just an example of hopefully conveying the seriousness with which the council has for years, and inside the organization for years has viewed what this is, and that this board really is a natural outgrowth of those particular efforts. And so thank you for letting me share that. I know it was lengthy to go through and rather fast, but I really wanted to highlight those. So thank you, Trish. And I believe Angela is our next person.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Bob, for doing that. As you can see, there are so many things that the city is doing, and with all of these nuances, the impetus for starting this board is quite apparent. And so we've got a lot of work to do. So we got to roll up ours and get busy once we get going. And now we're going to ask Angela if she would just take a moment to share with us some of the things that they have already done with the Interwoven Equity. They did a lot of work and a lot came from it. And we would like for you to share that with the entire group.
Thank you so much. I had the privilege of working with city planning staff as well as members of our community and citizens that were amongst all of the 6 priority areas for the comprehensive plan. And as we went through that process, I was pleased to see that we recognized that there was an issue, that we were holding meetings at a time that some were not able to get to. So we had to take a step back, reevaluate, and say we need to make sure that those who need to be at the table and provide a voice to them. So there were additional sessions that were held within the community in the evening to provide a greater opportunity for people to have their voice heard with respect to the comprehensive plan. So throughout that process, the Interwoven Equity group that I participated with was a pivotal part of the planning process for the 2040 Comprehensive Plan. This was the first time that a comprehensive plan for the city of Roanoke had included a focus on equity. Our city is taking steps in the right direction to ensure that equitable treatment of all citizens through its priorities, policies, and actions. You will note in the comprehensive plan, the overview statement for the Interwoven Equity theme on page 7 acknowledges, and I quote, how past actions created barriers that limited opportunity for underserved communities, particularly the African American community, and eroded trust in institutions, end quote. So there are 5 program areas that we will be looking at in Interwoven Equity, and those include trust. And this board formation is a direct result of that priority. It called for a group to be created to oversee equity within the city and correcting past inequitable actions through policy. The next area is breaking the cycle of poverty by providing opportunities for improved socioeconomic status for those in our community. Neighborhood choice, providing opportunities and removing barriers to housing for those within our community. Inclusive culture, creating a culture of inclusiveness and celebrating diversity throughout the city, as well as service delivery, making sure that services are provided and delivered in a method that is equitable to all to receive quality services. In addition to the Interwoven Equity section of the comprehensive plan, the other themes, there are 6 of them, and the plan is drawn from the American Planning Association's best practices for comprehensive plans. And these themes include, in addition to interwoven equity, the healthy community, harmony with nature, livable built environment, responsible regionalism, and resilient economy. And it is important to note that in addition to interwoven equity, it's not a theme that stands alone. The policies and actions of the other 5 program areas were created and designed to be looked at through an equity lens. So it's important that when we talk about equity and looking at the plan, that we look at it in its totality, and for those other areas that we look at and making sure that it is equitable for members of our community. As City Manager has already shared, the City Council approved the comprehensive plan, the 2040 comprehensive plan in December. We are now holding our first meeting for the Equity and Empowerment Advisory Board. And as he also shared, as an organization, the city is seeking to orient its budget around equity and empowerment outcomes. So there was a lot of heavy lifting done by citizens, by members of the planning staff, and city staff to bring this plan forward. So I look forward with you as we look at the plan and policies that are being carried out and making sure that we look at them with an equity lens.
Very good. Thank you so much. Very nice job, Angela, giving us a really concise summary of what you guys accomplished during that time. And at this point, we are going to have item number 4, hearing of citizens upon public matters related to the equity and empowerment. And before we do that, I think we may have somebody, I think, lined up to address us tonight. But for future meetings, I am going to recommend that we hold the, I guess, public hearings or public comments until the public hearings, because I think once we start working and we start trying to accomplish something, we don't want these meetings to be too long because we all have other things to do and, you know, you got to have dinner and everything. So I think for me, and if everyone would agree, and if you disagree, please say so at this point, because from this meeting forward, we will remove item 4 from the agenda and just have public hearings during the public hearing comments time on the, I think every 3 to 4 months. So I think we have someone scheduled tonight because it's already on the agenda, but if there are no objections to that, I just need a general consensus to go ahead and remove item 4 from our agenda. Are we saying, okay, sounds good to me. Okay. All right, we will do that. Now, Bob, do we have someone tonight that you said wanted to join in tonight?
Yes, there is. And if she would, she'll need to hit *6 to unmute herself. And then, and Tiffany, I don't know the name of the person. So Tiffany I think Tiffany has the name.
Oh, yeah. I unmuted myself. My name is Marie Dagenet Lewis.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Marie.
Well, first off, I just want to start by thanking you all for giving me the opportunity to speak. I am a disability rights advocate, and I was recently a victim of disability discrimination. And I didn't hear anything about disability being spoken about when you guys were talking about inclusion and equity. I was previously employed by a local television station for almost 8 years, and back in August, I was wrongfully terminated as a retaliation for standing up for my own rights as a disabled soul. Through my journey through justice, I learned that ableism is alive and well and thoroughly embedded in our society here in Roanoke. I lost my job the same week my former station preached inclusion and promised to be more diverse. Not only did I lose my lifelong and award-winning career, but I was accused of lying about my disability as a justification. 1 in 4 Americans live with a disability, and this means 1 in 4 Roanokers lack the constitutional protection and equality that every other oppressed group has, yet our oppression is never challenged. I have spent the last 5 months understanding that this current society doesn't want the disabled to be part of it. So what is this board going to do to include disabled in your equity?
Marie, thank you for calling in, and thank you for your comment. The board is equity and empowerment, and that certainly falls within the realm of that. So there will certainly be discussion as this is day 1, and I'm sure that there is going, like I just stated a few moments ago, there are so many nuances that we intend to address. And I thank you for calling in with that comment and that concern because it is inequity, and you know, we certainly need to look at that, and we will be doing a lot of research on a lot of different areas, that not just racism, not just jobs, not just, I mean, there are so many different areas. The city managers just went through an entire list of things that this board is going to try to address, and there's going to be a lot of work that we have to do. So for now, I thank you for calling in, and please continue to follow us. You know, if you want to show up at the next public hearing, and you don't have to wait for the public hearing, and that is for anyone listening tonight. You can submit your inquiries to us directly, email, and if Tiffany, if you can maybe put that up at the end of the meeting, how to contact us, how to contact this board, you can certainly submit your inquiries and your comments and concerns prior to any meeting so that we will already be abreast of them.
Yeah, and Trish,
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Trish, if I may also, to kind of also help reinforce what you just said and what Marie said, just again, as a reminder of that sort of third general responsibility of the board, which is to review all existing city policies, ordinances, and regulations, and recommend to the city council changes in such policies, ordinances, regulations to eliminate the city of any policies or procedures that promote inequity or limit empowerment. So that would be all encompassing. So absolutely part of the charge of this board will include those things that actually continue to, if you will, promote inequities or limit empowerment for those that find themselves disabled. So absolutely, that would be a central part of what is discussed with this board as well.
Well,
Thank you.
I'll definitely make sure you guys keep your word to that. I'll be at every meeting, and I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And you know, and that is one of the reasons why we will break out into subcommittees, because there is a lot that we have to do, and we have the right group. I'm excited about each and every one of you. So I'm looking forward to it. Our next meeting is going to be February 4th. And on February 4th, we're going to be prepared to go through sort of an organizational chart and lay out some guidelines on how we can move our agenda forward. And we're going to use, I can't even think of the name of that process. Bob, what is that? What is that process that we wanted to adopt that we're going to use from another state that had used it? GARE, I know, but I don't know what that's.
Yeah, one of the resources that we've been relying upon is information from an organization, a national organization, GARE. So GARE is actually the acronym associated with it. And we'll be providing, prior to the next meeting, some additional information associated with that. And they specialize in addressing equity issues, particularly in the areas of government. So it's a very kind of nuanced and focused type of organization. And we'll certainly be providing more information regarding the resources that they have.
Yes, it's okay. It's the Government Alliance on Race and Equity. I had to get my notes. So we are going to send that out to you because we want to use that kind of as our guideline and follow along with it, because they've done some extensive work, like Bob said, and with some really, really positive results. So you will get a copy of that prior to the next meeting, and we will talk a little bit more about your particular interest and expertise. So there you are. So each and every one of you will get a copy of this. And anyone else who is listening, and our viewers or our listeners, if you would like a copy of it, we will give you information on how to contact us prior to the meeting, and we will get that information to you. So if there's nothing else that we need to do tonight, we will ask for a motion to adjourn and meet again on February 4th at 6:30. Yes, yes,
Trish,
Kathy.
there's just a little mistake on the listing under my name for being on the committee, and that is that I do live in Roanoke City.
Okay, we will make sure they change
you.
that. I know we had to have, I think we had to make an exception for Patisse, and that was, I think you're the only one, Patisse. Is everyone else in Roanoke City? Because City Council actually had to vote on that to make some exceptions. So we want to make sure we get that correct.
Yeah, I think, and Rabbi, I think is correct that at the time, maybe when the appointments were made, because were you in the process of relocating?
I was in the process of moving. But I do now
that's why
live
they
in the
had
city.
Okay, yeah, we'll change that, because when they made the adoption, or when they made the appointment, they still had to grant that exception, but since that time you have located, so we'll go ahead and make that notations. Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone, once again, and I appreciate your willingness to serve, and congratulations, and I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you. And if there is nothing else, all minds are clear, all hearts are clear. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Patisse.
Second, Elda.
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night, y'all.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.